Why is no one talking about this? We're spending billions of dollars on anti-aging creams, pills, surgeries, but the real anti-aging hacks, they're free, they're simple, and they could literally save your life. I'm going to show you 7 extending hacks that almost no one is talking about, yet backed by science and shockingly easy to do. Let's start with the first one. That's going to be mouth taping at night and nostril breathing throughout the day. This might sound weird, but just trust me here, it's very powerful. Most people are in the habit of breathing through their mouth, especially when you sleep. That actually is a big issue. Here's why. There's a molecule in your body called nitric oxide, and I don't need you to understand the biochemistry here, but here's what I want you to get. Heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States and across the world. When nitric oxide is depleted, it dramatically increases your chance of heart disease and, for men, erectile dysfunction, and it jacks up your nervous system. It prevents you from getting deep, restorative quality sleep. Most people, they're breathing through their mouth when they are asleep. This depletes nitric oxide, lowers your quality of sleep, meaning you're not burning fat, you're not detoxifying, you're waking up the next morning feeling wired and tired, and you'll know this because of your lack of quality of sleep, and then you'll also notice this when your mouth seems a little bit dry when you wake up in the morning. So a simple fix: you put a piece of tape over your mouth before you go to bed. I've been doing this every night for years. When you don't do this, and when you're chronically breathing through your mouth, poor oxygenation to cells, which can lead to increased cancer risk, higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, gum disease is increased, and snoring and sleep apnea might occur. When you mouth tape and train your body to breathe through your nose versus your mouth, you build nitric oxide, and you'll see the following improvements. Stress hormones drop, meaning better quality of sleep. Oxygen delivery to tissues improve, and you get more deep, fat-burning, restorative sleep. Look, mouth taping is safe. You just apply a small piece of tape to train your body to start breathing through your nose. I use a company called Somnifix for my mouth tape. I have a link and a coupon code for them. If you want to use them, I'll drop that down below. But it's not just at night. It's also throughout the day. Be conscious and aware throughout the day of your breathing pattern. A lot of people, as they're working on their computer or watching TV, they're breathing through their mouth. Now, when you're talking like I am, you're going to breathe through your mouth. But when you're not speaking and not exercising, breathe through your nose. Be consciously aware and correct yourself. And be aware. The more you could train your body to breathe through your nose versus your mouth, the more benefits you're going to achieve, the more nitric oxide you're going to build, and you're going to lessen your chance of risk of dying from cardiovascular disease. Again, nobody's talking about this, but you'll see huge improvements in a matter of days with just this first hack. The second tip here is also going to shock you. That's going to be no food at least 3 hours before bed. One of the fastest ways to age your body, create inflammation, and weight gain and weight loss resistance is to eat too close to bed. When you eat late at night, you disrupt melatonin production. Now, you've heard of melatonin for sleep, and yes, it's going to help you fall asleep and stay asleep. But melatonin, my friend, is way more important than just sleep. Melatonin is actually the most important antioxidant for your mitochondria. Your mitochondria produce energy, help you burn fat, help you live a long, healthy life. When you deprive it of melatonin because you're eating late at night, you will create inflammation and eventually disease. You see, when you eat food, you raise glucose and insulin. Glucose and insulin have an inverted relationship with melatonin. When glucose and insulin goes up, melatonin is suppressed. Not only that, it increases your body temperature when you eat before bed, and you're going to be using a ton of resources, blood flow bandwidth to digest food versus deep, fat-burning, restorative, detoxifying sleep. You deplete growth hormone, you deplete testosterone. You also have an imbalance in your blood sugar regulation where you wake up at 3 a.m. because of a blood sugar dip. Not good. One Harvard study showed that eating late, even with the same calories, causes more weight gain and slower fat burning. So here's the rule. The kitchen is closed at least 3 hours before bed. If you go to bed at 11 p.m. each night, your last bite of food should be by 8 p.m. the latest. You give your body time to digest, time to repair itself, and to shift into restorative, detoxifying, deep sleep. The third tip that nobody really is talking about is getting 7,000 steps per day. This one is simple, yet is often ignored. We've heard about walking being healthy for you. We've heard about 10,000 steps a day. But actually, the science is showing if you get at least 7,000 steps a day, some really cool things happen in your life. JAMA has a study they published in 2021 that I also put in my latest book, Metabolic Freedom, that showed when participants got 5,000 to 7,000 steps a day, they reduced their chances of dying from all-cause mortality by 50% compared to those who were getting less than 3,000 steps a day. That's pretty huge. Here's why. Here's what's going to happen when you hit that 7,000 step count per day. Walking activates your fat-burning pathways. It improves insulin sensitivity. It boosts lymphatic drainage, which is your body's gutter system. The lymphatic system is throughout your entire body. It's one of your main detoxifying systems. And it enhances mitochondrial health. So get the 7,000 steps a day, and bonus points if you get those steps outside in nature, you get even more benefits. Let's move on to tip number 4 here that nobody's talking about, and that's going to be to stop the grazing, stop the snacking every single day. Look, human beings are not designed to graze and snack all day long. I know your dietitian or personal trainer or TikTok fitness influencer says, let's boost your metabolism by snacking and grazing all day long. It's one of the fastest ways to age yourself, create rapid amounts of inflammation. And guess what? You don't want to even boost your metabolism. It's not about a fast metabolism. The metabolism doesn't even work in speeds. It's either efficient or it's inefficient. And the animals in the wildlife that have the fastest metabolism, guess what? They have the shortest lifespan. There's no science showing snacking and grazing improves your metabolism. It actually does the complete opposite. This is one of the biggest myths in modern nutrition. Every time you eat, even if it's the healthiest snack in the world, you spike glucose and insulin and you start the digestive processes. When insulin is up, you are not burning fat, you are storing fat. You shut off fat burning completely. Constant grazing leads to fat gain, especially belly fat, poor metabolic health, which leads to what's called being a sugar burner, metabolic inflexibility, and increased inflammation. Let me share with you how this works. I talk about this in my book, Metabolic Freedom. There's something called the Hayflick Limit. Here is something that I'm going to share with you, and I hope you learn it and teach it to somebody today. It's a cool fact, so share it with somebody you know. The Hayflick Limit states that your cells inside of your body, you have about 37 trillion cells, they only have a certain set of times that they could duplicate until your cells could no longer duplicate. At that point, the cell enters what's called zombie status. It's also called a senescent cell. A senescent cell is a big issue. The more senescent cells you have, the more likelihood you are to be diagnosed with cancer, heart disease, autoimmune, diabetes. I mean, it shortens your lifespan. And what's crazy about these senescent zombie cells is that once you have them, they start infecting other cells around them. So we don't want senescent cells. We want to prevent these zombie cells from manifesting in our body. All right, back to the Hayflick limit. When you reach that certain amount of threshold, the times you could duplicate, you enter zombie status. What does snacking and grazing have to do with this? The more frequently you spike your glucose and insulin, like when you snack and graze, the faster you reach the Hayflick limit. Wow. Your dietitian and personal trainer and fitness guru on TikTok never told you about the Hayflick limit because they don't understand that. So eliminate the snacking and the grazing. Eat 2 to 3 meals every day within a 6 to 8 hour eating window, focused on nutrient-dense, single-ingredient foods, and there's no need to snack, especially when you get high-quality protein and fat with those meals. Look, this simple change will dramatically improve your energy levels, your metabolism, and increase your lifespan. This brings us to tip number 5. This is probably the biggest shocker here outside of the bonus one I'm going to share later. Ditch the antiseptic mouthwash and the fluoride toothpaste. This might shock you, but your oral health is deeply connected to your metabolic and cardiovascular health. Antiseptic mouthwash destroys nitric oxide, leads to erectile dysfunction in men, and increases your blood pressure and increases your risk of cardiovascular disease. What exactly is antiseptic mouthwash? I'm talking about Listerine, Scope, pretty much what most people use. And don't take it from me. I'm going to bring on right now Dr. Nathan Bryan, who is a world-renowned nitric oxide researcher who has done published studies on individuals using antiseptic mouthwash. And it'll blow your mind what you hear from this guy when he shares what it did to their health. Oh my gosh. Check out this clip with Dr. Nathan Bryan. Mouthwash. When you say mouthwash, do you mean
all mouthwash or the ones that are the standard ones, the Listerines, the one that might have fluoride? What about the mouthwashes that use things like tea tree oil, oregano, different natural antimicrobials, coconut oil, etc.?
Yeah, there's a lot of things we don't know, so I'll tell you what we do know.
Okay.
Stringent antiseptics, things like chlorhexidine, the prescription antiseptic that's used for chronic halitosis, periodontal disease, a lot of dentists use it. But we've also tested things like Scope, Listerine, the alcohol-based mouthwash, the ones with fluoride. These products do exactly as they're advertised. You see the commercials. Kills 99.9% of the bacteria in your mouth.
Good and bad.
Good and bad. And it turns out that it's actually a really bad thing. So when you disrupt the oral microbiome, it shuts down nitric oxide production. We published, I believe it was in 2012, that if you use mouthwash, your blood pressure goes up. I was on the doctor's show several years ago revealing that if you use mouthwash, you lose the cardioprotective benefits of exercise. So think about this. You try to do all the right things. You try to eat a good diet. You try to get moderate physical exercise. But if you use in mouthwash, you eliminate the entire cardioprotective benefits of everything you're doing. So, there's a reason we don't take an antibiotic every day for the rest of our lives, because of the disruption in the gut microbiome.
It's like dropping a nuke. It'll take care of the bad guys that we want to get to, but also the civilians that...
Yeah, it's collateral damage that causes systemic... It wreaks havoc on the body. The microbiome, the bacteria that live in and on our body, outnumber on cells 10 to 1. Mm-hmm. So we eradicate those to our own demise. So we have to maintain a healthy microbiome. So why would anybody kill the oral microbiome every day, sometimes twice a day, for the rest of their life? There's 200 million Americans that use mouthwash every day. There's 200 million Americans with an unsafe elevation in blood pressure. Now we know that it's not coincidental. It's causal.
Yikes. Absolutely insane. So the good news is this: once you stop using the antiseptic mouthwash, within about a week or two, your blood pressure normalizes and you start going back to a healthier state. Fluoride is also an issue found in a lot of drinking water supply, but also in Colgate toothpaste. Most toothpaste that are out there that are conventional have fluoride, which is linked to thyroid dysfunction, gut microbiome imbalances, lower IQ, especially in developing children. So we want a toothpaste that is fluoride-free, no SLS. I actually used the one from Dr. Nathan Brown called Cardio Smile, and I'll drop a link and a coupon code down below. Let's move on to tip number 6 here. That's going to be apple cider vinegar. Taking 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar before your biggest meal of the day, and then going for a walk right after that biggest meal of the day. Here's how this is going to benefit your metabolism, your inflammation, your energy levels, and especially your longevity. This hack is metabolic gold. When you take 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, dilute it with water, and then drink it through a straw 30 minutes before your biggest meal of the day, here's what's going to happen. This could lower your blood sugar spike from that meal by 30%. And the more weight that you have, the more insulin resistance that you have, the more benefits you're going to get here. It also improves insulin sensitivity. It also increases stomach acid, which helps you break down that meal and digest the food more efficiently. Then when you go for a 10 to 20 minute walk after that meal, it also helps with the blood sugar spike, helps you get into a fat burning state much faster because less insulin is produced to deal with the meal because you're active. You're going for that walk right after the meal. This combo is a game changer for fat loss and metabolic health. I have a lot of my students do this, especially as a way to ramp up fat loss. So add it to your protocol. Just do it once a day, 30 minutes before your biggest meal of the day. Have the apple cider vinegar, dilute it with water, and then right after you're done eating, go for that 20 to 30 minute walk, and you'll even benefit even if it's only a 10-minute walk. This brings us to tip number 7. Then I have a bonus one that's a complete shocker. Okay, tip number 7. I recommend doing this once a year. By doing this simple thing, well, I say it's simple. It might sound not that simple. By doing this one thing once a year, you will dramatically reduce your risk of getting diseases like the C word. I won't mention it here because I don't want to make claims, but there's actually a really powerful, world-renowned cancer researcher. His name is Dr. Thomas Seyfried, and I've had him on my podcast before, my Metabolic Freedom podcast before. And he has seen when you complete this once a year, you could dramatically reduce your risk of getting any cancer. So what am I referring to? Going without food for 100 hours once a year. 100 hours is 4 days and 4 hours. It's called a water fast. And you would build up to this, and I could teach you how to do this. I have a ton of lessons on my YouTube channel and podcasts on how to do this. But here's the reason why I do this once a year. It helps you achieve deep autophagy. Autophagy is a process that you activate deep into these long fast. It's like Pac-Man cleaning out the damaged cells, the damaged mitochondria, and even those senescent zombie cells, getting rid of those. Pretty cool process. You reduce inflammation, you achieve autophagy, you completely reset your immune system 72 hours into this fast, which is so important for preventing cancer. Helps with mental clarity and focus and productivity, and it enhances mitochondrial function. It's like hitting the reset button on your biology. So if you're fasting now 12 hours a day, go to 16 hours, then 24 hours, and work your way on building it up. I have a lesson on fasting as I go through an entire timeline on what happens during a 100-hour fast, and I'll drop that in the notes down below. Before I get to your questions, I want to get to the bonus tip here. This is going to shock you. But if you want to feel better, balance your hormones, burn fat, and extend your lifespan, then keep your total cholesterol levels over 200. Wait, what did this guy just say? Yeah, you heard me right. More people die from heart disease with normal to low cholesterol than with high cholesterol. Wow, that's a shocker. Back to Dr. Nathan Bryan. He has made the case and has research to back it up that when your total cholesterol is under 200, like when you take statins, it depletes nitric oxide, increases blood pressure, increases your risk of heart disease. It's the complete opposite of what you're trying to do here. So check out this clip from Dr. Nathan Bryan explaining the dangers of low cholesterol, and then we'll circle back and talk about ways to raise healthy cholesterol. Check this out.
When you mentioned cholesterol, and I think this is a very interesting topic because you said that I think on the last episode that you're more concerned if somebody has a total cholesterol of less than 200 versus somebody who has a higher cholesterol. Explain that and what it does to block nitric oxide.
Well, cholesterol, our body makes cholesterol. And so our body doesn't make mistakes, right? If our body needs cholesterol, our body's going to make it upon demand. And so we get cholesterol from the diet, and we also get it through endogenous production. Cholesterol is also the backbone for things like testosterone, estrogen, vitamin D. So if our cholesterol gets too low, we can't make hormones or vitamin D. And we have a global epidemic of testosterone deficiency in men and hormone imbalances in women and vitamin D deficiencies.
Yeah, and vitamin D, correct.
So our body heals itself, right? Our body senses what's going on and then self-corrects. But if we have a drug that inhibits endogenous cholesterol production, which is what a statin does, then our body can't respond. So if it senses that we're not getting enough cholesterol or that we need to make it, then the body can't. And the consequences of that are obviously obvious now. Because these drugs have been on the market, 25, 30 years. There's data showing that there's a higher incidence of type 2 diabetes. Some data coming out now for vascular dementia and Alzheimer's, even cancer, because they're mitochondrial toxicants. And when we talk about cell signaling, which I'm a biochemist and physiologist by training, so when we look at extracellular binding and then intracellular signaling, it's the integrity of the membrane, which is made up of cholesterol and fatty acids and a lipid bilayer. If there's not enough cholesterol in there, you lose the membrane fluidity. You lose this communication between the outside of the cell and the inside of the cell. And then the cholesterol acts as like an insulator, a capacitor that maintains the transmembrane potential. So a normal cell operates at minus 25 millivolts, which is, if you use the Nernst equation, it's a pH of 7.4. That's the potential of a particular pH. If you lose that transmembrane potential and that capacitor effect of the cholesterol, then you lose that transmembrane potential, you lose all the intracellular signaling, and bad things happen. And it does this because a lot of the intracellular proteins are connected to the extracellular ligands through this transmembrane protein. If you don't have cholesterol in there, that protein complex falls apart, and now you've lost signaling from outside to inside. And that's really, truly a disruption in cell signaling. And so we have to have cholesterol to do that. And if we're getting our cholesterol below 200, which seems to be the standard now, or the standard of care.
On that note, real quick, my fiance used to work for a corporate company, and they used to reward their employees for the person who has the lowest amount of cholesterol. They used to get a bonus.
Yikes. So don't be afraid of cholesterol. Your cells are made up of cholesterol, saturated fat. It's not the boogeyman that you were taught to believe. So eat the eggs with the yolk, eat the red meat, eat the chicken and the beef and the pork as long as it's a healthy source. Don't be afraid of eating cholesterol. or having high cholesterol levels. As long as your inflammation is low, that's all that matters. And I talk a lot about this and a lot of myths out there when it comes to health and nutrition in my latest New York Times bestselling book, Metabolic Freedom. So go get it today. It's available on hardcover, it's available on Kindle, and it's available on Spotify and Audible, and I narrated those audios myself. You can get it by going to metabolicfreedombook.com or scanning the QR code on the screen right now, and you'll get a free course on the metabolism. We'll also drop that link down below. Let's get to your questions now. How do I start mouth taping if I'm a light sleeper or a mouth breather? Is it safe for everyone? Well, it's not safe for everyone. If you're using a CPAP machine, you're gonna wanna work with your practitioner on that. If you have sleep apnea, you're gonna wanna work with your practitioner on that. The way that I started doing mouth taping many years ago, I wore it for like an hour, took it off, 2 hours, took it off. I kind of built a tolerance to it. Now I use it and I don't forget. And if I do forget, I notice a difference. Does it have to be exactly 7,000 steps every day? What if I can't hit that number every day? Well, the study said somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 steps per day. So if you're coming a little bit short, but you're still within that range, you're going to benefit. And I would recommend wherever your step count is right now, just work on increasing it. And if you want to get more, that's also beneficial. If you want to go to 10,000 steps a day or 14,000 steps a day, you'll get more fat loss benefits there. Is there an ideal time of day to do the apple cider vinegar and walking combo? I would recommend it before and after your biggest meal of the day, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Typically, people have dinner as their biggest meal of the day, so I would use their dinner as that recommendation. It'll also help with sleep. It'll also help with getting into a parasympathetic state, getting into a restful state, getting ready for sleep. So I would use dinner for most people as that combination of apple cider vinegar before and then going for a short walk after. What if I work late or eat a dinner late? What's the best way to shift my eating window gradually? Yeah, the best idea here is to have a bigger breakfast, to eat most of your calories when the sun is out. I believe this, if you made no changes to your lifestyle routine and the only thing you did was you ate all of your calories before 6 p.m., even if those calories were unhealthy, even if those calories were processed, even if you're eating junk food and you made no other changes and only made this one change, you're done eating by 6 p.m. every day, you'll actually get benefits. You'll start to lose some weight, you'll start to lower inflammation, and get better sleep. Now, of course, you want to eliminate the processed junk food and do all the other things I teach you, but if you just made that one simple swap, you're going to benefit. So if you're in the habit of working late and eating late, just eat all of your calories earlier on, eat protein, drink some tea to calm your hunger at night, chamomile tea, some relaxing, calming tea, that should help. I hope this lesson was valuable. Share it with somebody you know. Check out the resources and links down below. I'll put a link for that 100-hour fasting timeline video down below. And I hope you enjoyed it. Share it with somebody you know. I'll see you on the next one. And if you love this lesson, if you want to learn more about belly fat and drinking a tablespoon of this liquid every day helps to target belly fat, I just published a video all about this. So here's a clip from that video. Click the video on the screen and I'll see you in that next lesson. These ingredients have 4 things in common. Number 1, they enhance mitochondrial biogenesis, which is the creation of new mitochondria. Number 2, they turn that white fat, which is the fat around your organs, that visceral fat, to beige and brown fat. Number 3, they're all insulin friendly, allowing you to be in a fat burning mode. And number 4, they lower inflammation.